up, guys, and welcome back to Dave TV. My name is David and I'm your host. For today's video is simply going to be about how counseling has helped me. You guys had a lot of questions and why I chose counseling and what I went through in my personal life, and today I'm going to start off by sharing it. This is going to be a set of 3 videos, so bear with me. So right beforehand, if you could like, subscribe, or even share this video, it's going to help somebody out there in the world, right, that went through the same trouble, same traumas as me. But to jump right into it, this first set of videos is going to be about my divorce from that my parents had all the way into middle school and post middle school, through high school, to up until my mom's passing, and from my mom's passing to where I am now in life. So to get into it, my parents divorced when I was 7, right? My dad's from Trinidad, shout out Trinidad, right? My mom's from Amityville, shout out Amityville. They got together, had my sister, and by 1999, they divorced. I was 7 years old. My dad was kicked out 3 days before Christmas, all right? Was in the cold, it was rough. My mom felt that although he was a great father, to me, per se, he wasn't really a great father as much to my sister in a sense. But this is where I learned early on that your relationship with people is your relationship with people, guys, right? So if somebody's good to you, they're good to you. They may not be good to somebody else. So that's why I had to learn at an early age, right? Moving forward, they divorced. I'm in 2nd grade. June comes around, Father's Day. This is my perception of what divorce was, guys. And this is why divorce could be so harmful, horrendous to a child. My teacher, Mrs. Harris, shout out Mrs. Harris from PS 153, right? My 2nd grade teacher, she said, "You want to make a card for your dad for Father's Day?" I looked at her, I said, "I don't have a dad," right? And people were so shocked when I told them that. I really thought divorce meant that he's not my dad anymore. She looked at me with these pants-searing eyes, angry, upset. And now being in education, now being a man, I understand where that pain came from, because so many individuals from low socioeconomic statuses, backgrounds, what have you, mid-level backgrounds, don't have a father in their lives. And she understood that my dad at the time was part of the PTA. He was heavy in it, but they did not share that they were divorcing. So she's coming from this background of seeing me and how I was and how capable I was in school. And she just hit me with the eyes like, "What? Why are you saying this? It's disrespectful when so many kids want a dad," right? But really, that was my understanding. So that's what I learned with my teacher. So going forward, I'm in 3rd grade. I'm feeling sorry for myself, right? And this is what I learned about self-loathingness, right? As I got older, I realized what it was. I was just feeling sorry for myself for a reason that I couldn't verbalize to my teachers, to my mom. So my mother, her conscious and being conscious enough of the situation, put me in counseling. And this is how counseling helped me. It made me realize that the situation was a change. It wasn't better. It wasn't really worse, although subjectively to most, it is a worse situation having, you're accustomed to having both parents. But it was a change, and that's what I had to understand. That now I would see my dad on the weekends. We spend time together. He would prioritize me. And that's what I needed to hear, and that's what I needed to come to terms with. So I'm thankful for the counseling that I received during my time in elementary school, because it helped prepare me about my own self-loathing and to be more conscious of what's going on in my own world, right? As for my sister, she did not receive counseling. She didn't even know until I made this video that I actually received counseling in 3rd grade. But going forward, 4th, 5th grade, my mother got into a relationship with a man that would become my stepfather. And the first time I ever seen the physical abuse was literally, they came home after work and he just choked her, right? And poor sense of humor here, but it was literally like The Simpsons. Like you saw Homer choke out Bart, and that's literally what I saw. My room is facing their room. I live in Cobb City, 3-bedroom with the terrace. And I'm looking straight ahead, playing my game on the bed, and I look, and it was a shock to my system to see that, because I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even fathom, like, wait, did this really just happen? And I'm probably like 8, 9, 10 years old. I'm just like, nah, that ain't happen. And then as time went by, now I'm in 6th grade, and I could count. I remember counting. He hit her about 70 times when I did the math, in probably like a year and a half time. It was crazy, because there was drinking, there was alcohol, there was cigarettes, there was just verbal, emotional abuse, mind games, manipulation. There was times where he would come home, say, clean up the whole house to me, my sister, my mother, and be out all day. And this is the point where my sister said, "I can't do this anymore." because during the divorce, my sister was the one that I leaned on, and she took care of me and my well-being. And this kind of created a schism between my mom and her, where eventually my sister had to leave because my mom was literally going to work with a bruised eye, battered eye, going and saying, "Can you help me with the makeup?" to my sister, and she just couldn't handle it, right? So during this 6th grade year, it was horrendous for me. I went from an 80, 85 average to a 65 average or so. And what happened was my mom just neglected me. This is point blank. It took me years to realize this, but she just neglected me. I would go home after school by myself now, get phone calls. I'll delete the phone call because I'm making it home. And eventually what happened with my mother, I would go ask for help in the beginning of the year. And I remember specifically asking for help. I'm in the kitchen, it's like 6:30, doing my homework. And I fell asleep at the table. She forgot about me. I remember that so vividly. Following the next year, 7th grade, I learned about poetry from my teacher, who's now was once Miss Scagliartis, who is now Mrs. Pisano. Shout out to MS1A, Mrs. Pisano. She introduced me to poetry. And my first poem, I don't have it with me today, I'll make sure in the future, was about the abuse my mom went through. It's called A Man's Coming to Dinner Tonight. And that's the poem that reflects on what I went through and my mom went through. Because the first time she ever introduced my stepfather the idea of her dating him, she said, "A man's coming to dinner tonight." And I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what it meant. So proceeding the story, my mom was actually with another man post my father. She was just taking care of him. I didn't know what it meant. It was a weird situation. But at this point, my relationship, that's when it dawned on me, reflecting back, and my relationship with my mother started changing, right? I just knew it with my father. Now she's taking care of this young guy who couldn't take care of himself. And now, future, the same thing is happening again. She's basically making 75, 80,000. At the time when making that money was great. You know, we were well off in a sense. And he was probably making 20,000. He had to quit his job where he met my mother, where he's making 45, 50,000 as a security guard. And I think that's what created a lot of issues. Not to make an excuse, but these are the reasons. Not an excuse, but to make the reasons and to understand my stepfather's own anger. He wasn't happy with how life turned out. And it's from people that I know personal to him, but he didn't know how to handle it. He was the last of 11 children, coming from Queensbridge, coming from Astoria Projects. And what happened was he basically just wasn't happy with life. And in a way, he became a victim of circumstance, and that cannot happen. That's why I try to tell my kids, the circumstances may affect you, but don't become don't fall victim to the circumstances at hand. You know, believe in yourself, the self-efficacy, the self-competency, and the grit is something that you all need. And I tell my YouTube subscribers the same thing. There's 3 things that you need, and that's what you rely on is yourself. As for 7th grade, I read the poem, I cried, and a few of my friends, a lot of them didn't know what I was going through. And I wish I had counseling at that moment. And that's what made me and sparked me to kind of pander and ponder an idea of counseling and what I wanted to do. So that's it, guys. That's the first part of the video from the divorce to middle school. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, because I'm sure somebody went through the same thing. Part 2 will be out soon. Have a good day.